Let's make this front tie butterfly inspired top. The first thing you want to do is print the test page. Make sure you're printing at 100% or do not scale, and double check that the measurements correspond before printing your preferred size out. The pattern is separated so you don't have to worry about any confusing lines. Where there are half hearts, you want to match the corresponding letters to make the full pattern piece. No seam allowance is included in this pattern, so if you want, you can add it here, whatever seam allowance you're comfortable with. But if you're new to sewing, I really recommend tracing out the pattern so you know where the stitch lines are before adding your seam allowance. This just helps guide you better. Just a disclaimer. Now for this tutorial, I've actually scaled the pattern size down so it can fit better on screen. I'm using some cotton from an old bedsheet to make this top, but any non-stretch medium weight fabric would work best. And you'll end up with these pieces here, and now we can get stitching. We're going to start with the back pieces. So you want to match the back sides to the center back piece and do a straight stitch, not forgetting to back tack on either end. Here is where you want to decide how you're going to finish the garment, or do as I'm doing here and just overlocking the edge. Don't forget to give it a good press. This is where the hems come in really handy because there's a light curve here and it just helps you get that really nice look. When that's done, we're going to join the upper front bust pieces to the shoulder seams. Just make sure you have the front bust pieces in the correct direction before you sandwich it at the shoulder seam. You can trim the seam allowance back slightly and give it a good press. Now optionally, if you're not very confident with wiggling pieces, you can do a stay stitch here to keep the pieces together. But now we're going to do that same thing and sandwich the upper bust piece with the lower one. So kind of like what we did above. Just make note of where the upper and lower cup is because you don't want to accidentally stitch it upside down. So I like to make a little notch to indicate this, but just something that you want to use for your own reference. But for curves like this, I like to start at either end and then slowly ease it towards the center. You're going to trim the seam allowance and add some notches a couple of millimeters away from the edge of the stitch line, just to ease this curve before you open it out and iron it with your round bra hem. Again, here you can do a stay stitch to keep the pieces together if you're worried about it wiggling. Now we're going to attach the bottom piece to the cup. And because it's a curve, we're going to do some small notches here before we stitch it so that we can ease it in a little better. Here you can do the same finishings that you did for the back. So for me, it's an overlock. And finally, we're going to match the right sides together and stitch it down. Finish it the same way as you did for all the other seams. Now you can see we're nearly done and all we have to do is add the center ties. So you can make your own or use some lace or ribbon or cord, and the length is completely up to you. Just make sure that you're placing the top edge of it at the corner here in this front and do not go beyond that. You're going to match the right sides together and stitch it a little close to the stitch line but not on it. Now all that's left is to finish the raw edges. So you can finish this however you like. You know, you can do a little bind, you can use some lace like I'm doing here, or even just use an overlock. I'll be posting some tutorials for different types of finishings you can use and how to do them over the next few weeks. So please feel free to follow if you want to check those out. For me, I just overlocked the entire edge and then added some lace before folding it back and top stitching it. I found this detail super cute, but really your options are endless. And there you go, your top is all done. I hope you can try it out and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!